Hey guys, welcome back to ladensercrotchets. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. My name is Liz. In this tutorial, we're going to be making this dress. It's bodycon chain dress that is a full coverage dress, and I hope you're going to enjoy making this. If you do, kindly leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and don't forget to tag me on your social media pages when you recreate this, and I'll be reposting it. Grab your materials and let's get into the tutorial. For this project, you're going to need a 4mm crochet hook, a medium weight yarn, which can be substituted for any other brand, which is not Winter King. These are Kenyan brands. I'm using color white. It's 100% acrylic. You can use cotton yarn or acrylic yarn. Then you're going to need a pair of scissors, stitch markers, a darning needle, and a measuring tape. These right here are the measurements that you're going to need. You're going to take your bust measurement, waist, hips, top length, which is the length from your shoulders up to below the bust. Mine is 13. You're going to need the full length of the dress. I'm working mine between a length of 30 to 32. Then you're going to take the bust, the waist, and the hip measurement, each of the three, divide them by 2. So when I divide my bust measurement by 2, I'll get 18. And the bust measurement divided by 2 is your starting chain. So that's my starting chain, which is half of the bust. The chain that you're going to make should be a multiple of 6 plus 1. For example, you could have 36 plus 1, which is 37. You could have 42 plus 1, which is 43, and so on, depending on your size. So get these measurements and let's get into the tutorial. We begin with a slip knot and then make our starting chain, which is a multiple of 6 plus 1. When you're taking the measurement, you should stretch out your work, but not too much. My starting chain that will give me 18 inches is 54. 54 plus 1, I'll chain 55. So I'll just start chaining. So right here, I have my 55 chains, and I'm just going to show you how to measure these. So grab the measuring tape, place it close to the hook on that last chain. Then just stretch the chain. As you can see, the chain is at 15 when not stretched. When I give this a little bit of a stretch, it will get me to 18. Don't stretch it too much like this. So you need a very small stretch to avoid having a too tight dress. After you have your starting chain ready, you're going to hold the very last chain that you've just done and chain one more. Then go into that chain that you're holding, yarn over, grab a loop so that you have 2 loops on the hook. Then yarn over, pull through 2 to complete a single crochet. Then place your hook into the next chain, yarn over, grab a loop to get 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops. That's the second single crochet. You'll go into the next chain and place a single crochet. Place a single crochet into the chain that follows, and 1 single crochet into all the chains. At the end of row 1, I'll have a total of 55 single crochets. So the number of single crochets that you're going to have is the same as the number of chains that you started with. So if you started with 49, you should have 49 single crochets. Make sure that your chain is a multiple of 6 plus 1 extra chain. I'm at the end of row 1, and I'm just going to place the last single crochet into the last chain. And there you have the first row. Chain 1 and turn to begin row 2. We're going to begin row 2 with a single crochet into the very first stitch that we have right here. Single crochet into that stitch. Then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Make sure that your chains are not too tight. Chain loosely. Then you're going to count 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then insert your hook into the 6th stitch and do a single crochet like that. Then chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then again we're going to count 5 stitches, 1 2 3 4 5, then 6. Insert your hook into the 6th and do a single crochet. Again chain 5, skip 5 stitches, 1 2 3 4 5, work into the 6th with a single crochet, chain 5, skip 5, work into the 6th with a single crochet, and repeat this to the end of the row. At the end, you're going to work your last single crochet into the very last stitch, like that, and we're done with row 2. Chain 1 and turn to begin row 3. Begin in that very first single crochet that you've just worked. Chain 5, skip over to the single crochet and place a single crochet on top of it. Chain 5, skip over to the next single crochet, work a single crochet right there. Chain 5, then skip to the single crochet and repeat to the end. Then in the last stitch, you're just going to place the last single crochet. That's the end of row 3. We chain 1 and turn to begin row 4. Chain 1, turn, begin row 4 in that very first single crochet. Chain 5, work the single crochet. Chain 5 again, work the next single crochet, and repeat. So I'm at the end and I'm just going to place the last single crochet to complete row 4. Chain 1, turn to begin row 5, and from this point we're just repeating row 3 all through till we get the top length. In my case, I'm going to work till I have a length of 13 inches. When you're measuring the length, you don't stretch. So start with a single crochet, chain 5, then work the single crochet and then repeat to the end. So this is how you measure the length. Now from this point, let's see the length that we have. So just like this, I'm at a length of about 1.6. So I'll just keep going until I get to 13. I feel like that 13 is too long. I'll do up to 10, then I'll check whether that will be enough. If it won't be enough, then I can continue up to 13. You're working the length from the shoulders to your waist, your high waist, not the low waist. This is after 38 rows, and I achieved my top length. I'm just going to measure these, and before I do that, I'm just going to stretch out the stitches a little bit so that you'll need to do this so that you don't work too many rows, because you might end up with a top that's too long. Now I'm just going to measure this from the top to this point right there, as you can see, and I'm at almost 12 inches. I think I'm going to do 2 more rows to get me to 12. I'll work with the 12 instead of 13. So I'll just go on, work 2 more rows, then I'll come back and show you what to do with the next step. After the 2 extra rows, I'm at 12 inches, and that's where I'm going to stop with the top part, and I'm going to work the waist part. Now you're going to need to reduce. If your waist is smaller than the bust, you're going to need to reduce in order to get to the waist measurements. So I'm just going to mark this last row so that I know this is the last row that I did in order to get to the waist part. We'll do a reduction in the number of chains that you're doing. So like previously, I've just done five chains. In the next row, I'll be doing 4 chains. So chain 1 and turn to begin the first row of reduction. And we're going to start with the single crochet, then chain 4, then skip up to the single crochet and single crochet there, chain 4, work the single crochet, chain 4, and repeat to the end. So at the end, I'll place the last single crochet, chain 1, and turn. Now, after reducing the previous row, the next 2 rows will be rows with no reduction, so just 4 chains. Now, I'll get another stitch marker and mark that row that I've just reduced so that I'm able to keep count of the rows. So we are going to have 2 more rows with 4 chains. So after chaining 1 and turning, we begin with a single crochet, then chain 4, work the single crochet, chain 4, the single crochet, chain 4, single crochet, and then work to the end. After you get to the end, you're going to chain 1 and turn and work another row to this end with the 4 chains in between. So at this point, I've done the 2 rows. Actually, we have a total of 3 rows with 4 single crochets. Now we're going to reduce again, but you're going to reduce as you measure to see whether you're getting closer to your waist measurements while slightly stretched. Mine is 15 when divided by 2, and this you do while stretching. When I stretch these, actually I get to the 15, and that means I don't need to reduce anymore. So I'm done with the reduction. Now from the waist part up to the point where we're going to start increasing in order to achieve the hip measurement, I'm going to do a total of 8 rows. Right now I've just done, I'll chain 1 and turn, and I'm counting from the point where I placed my first stitch marker. So I don't need this anymore. I'll just be working with four chains, and like I've mentioned, I'll work a total of 10 rows from this point. So this is 1, 2, this is 3. I'll do 7 more rows with 4 chains in between, and this should get you to your low waist. So this is the high waist. The point where you're going to get is your low waist before you start increasing to achieve the hip measurement. So I'm working with just 4. If you need to reduce more, then you're going to, if the previous one was 4, then next you're going to reduce to get to 3 chains. Actually, you can skip the waist part and go straight to increasing in order to get to the hip measurement. So if this part is a bit confusing, you can go straight to, from this point after the waist, after you get to the high waist, or instead of working up to the high waist, you can work up to the lowest, and then when you get to the lowest, you start decreasing in order to get to the hip measurement. That is, if this middle part of the waist is a bit confusing for you. So right here, this is after the 10 rows of my waist part, and I'm going to mark the last row that I've just done. And from this point, I'm going to increase in order to achieve half of the hip measurement, which in my case was 22. Right now I'm at 15, so I'll need to increase until I get to 22. To do that, you're going to chain 1 and turn to begin the next row, and we're going to begin with a single crochet. Then now we're going to chain 5 because previously we had chained 4. If your previous chains were 5, you're going to chain 6. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet, chain 5, single crochet next, chain 5, and repeat to the end. Now from here, we're going to work 2 more rows with the chain 5, and that means you'll need to mark this row that you've just increased. But then I'm not going to move this stitch marker, so I'm going to get a third stitch marker and mark that row that I've just done. So mark the row that you've just increased in. You can mark from wherever point. Then now we're going to work 2 more rows with the 5 chains. So chain 1, turn. Begin with a single crochet at the beginning, then chain 5. I'll do the 2 more rows, then I'll come back so that we can increase. Next. I'm done with the 2 rows after the increase, and that makes a total of 3 rows with the 5 chains. Next, we're going to do 6 chains. Chain 1, turn, begin in the first single crochet, then chain 6, work the single crochet, chain 6, single crochet next, and now we're going to move this last stitch marker that we have, we're going to move it up to that row that we've just increased in, and that means from this row I'll do 2 more rows, so that I have a total of 3 rows with the 6 chains. So this is the first one, I'll do the second and the third, then I'll be back. Right now I'm done with the 3 rows of the 6 chains, and as you can see, our work is starting to stretch out to accommodate the hips. Now I'm just going to measure to see how far along I am with the hips, and I'm going to measure this while stretching slightly, and when I do, that's getting me to around 17.5, and I want to get to 22. Therefore I'm going to increase again. Start by chaining 1 and turn, then we're going to begin in the first stitch, and then the chains in between will be 7, so I'll work 7 stitches in between for a total of 3 rows. So I'll just move the stitch marker to the row that I've just worked, to the row that I'm working. And so from this point, counting this row, I'll work 3 rows with the 7 chains in between. After the 7 stitches increase, this is what I have, and I'll measure again to see whether I've gotten to the hip measurement that I'm working on. It's at 17 when not stretched. When you stretch a little bit, this is not a little bit, that's too much. So a little bit will get me to 20. So I'll need to do 1 more increase, and with that last increase of 8 chains, I'll have hit my hip measurement. If you'll not have hit your hip measurement by then you'll just continue increasing the same way. So I'll just chain 1 and turn, and from here I'm just going to work the 8 chains all the way till I get to the full length of my dress. My full length is between 30 to 32. I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided whether to go with the 30 or 31 or 32, but it will be somewhere in between. So I'm just chaining 8 from this point. Then single crochet. Now I'm going to keep the very first stitch marker and the second stitch marker, because I'm going to need them when I'm working the front panel. I'll need to be able to distinguish the 2 places, so I'm keeping those. I only removed the one that is marking the increases. Right now I'm doing 8, and the 8 chains are the number of chains that I'll work for all the rows from this point till I get to my full length. once you achieve the length of the dress that you want, you're just going to chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. And at this point, we'll be done with the back panel of the dress. Let me show you how it looks like. So this is the bottom part, and then that's the top part. I can hold it like this. And then we're going to measure to see whether I've gotten to the length that I wanted. I wanted to work between 30 to 32 inches. Let's see what I have from the top all the way to the bottom. And as you can see, I'm at 31. I actually worked 31 inches. And I've gotten the full length of my dress, and I'm done with the back panel. So what I need to do is the front panel. Now, you need to keep in mind the number of rows that you worked for the top part. That is from the top to the first stitch marker. You'll need the rows between the stitch marker and that is the high waist and the low waist. And then you also need to know the total number of rows that you did at the bottom part, because the front panel should have the same number of rows. And we're going to attach our yarn from the top part. We're going to reattach from the top and work the front panel. Now you need to count the number of chain stitches that you have, like the chains in between the single crochets. Like I have, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I have a total of 9 chain stitches or chain gaps. And now you're going to take, if your number is an odd number, in the middle you're going to leave 3 chain rows, so that you have 3 on one side. If you have 9, that is. Let me get stitch markers so that I can show you what I mean. So I have the stitch markers, and I want to ensure that at the middle I have 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3. So on the sides I'm going to have 3. So I'm counting the chain gaps, 1, 2, and 3. Then again we'll count 1, 2, and 3 in the middle and mark, such that on the other side we also have 1, 2, and 3. That is, if your gaps are an odd number, make sure that whatever you have in the middle right here are 3. If it's an even number, you should have 4. So like for example, if you've gotten 10 instead of 9, then in the middle you're going to count 4 gaps. So do that, and let's begin the front part from the top. So I'll just grab my yarn and the hook. Begin on one side. So on this side, I'll reattach the yarn. First, do a slip knot. Get the top part and reattach the yarn on the very first stitch. Then chain 1, go back into that stitch with a single crochet. Then at the beginning we were chaining 5 in between, so you're going to chain 5. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to count 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the 6th, a single crochet. Again, chain 5. So that's 3, 4, and 5. Skip 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work into the 6th. Chain 5 again. Then skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work into the 6th, and that's where our first stitch marker is. You can pull these out. Now the first row ends at that point, and so you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Begin in the single crochet, chain 5, skip over to the single crochet and work a single crochet, chain 5, work a single crochet into the single crochet, chain 5, and then work the last single crochet in the last single crochet that we have. That's the end of row 2 on this one side. Chain 1 and turn to begin row 3. Again, begin with a single crochet, chain 5, work the single crochet, and repeat for a total of 6 rows. I'm done with the 6 rows, so I'll just chain 1 and cut off the yarn. So now this is what we have, and this is supposed to fold like this to create the neck part of the top. Then we're going to go to the next stitch marker that we have and reattach our yarn at that point again and work 6 rows. So slip knot, remove the stitch marker, reattach the yarn on that stitch that corresponds the chain stitch right here. Reattach by slip stitching, then do a single crochet, or chain 1 first, chain 1, and do a single crochet right there, chain 5, skip 5, 1 2 3 4 5, work a single crochet, next chain 5, skip 5 stitches, then work a single crochet, chain 5, then work a single crochet into the last stitch, because you should have 5 stitches remaining there. So just work the single crochet, then chain 1 and turn and work a total of 6 rows like we worked on the other side. At the end of the 6 rows on the other side, chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And this is what you're going to have. The 2 extensions on both sides, that when you fold, this is how your work will look like. And we've created the neckline of our dress. Now, beginning from this side where we had started, I actually should not have cut the yarn on this side, but it's okay. We can still reattach again and work. So now I'll go on and reattach the yarn again on this side. With a slip knot, or I can attach with a single crochet, then chain 5, work the single crochet, chain 5, single crochet next, chain 5, then single crochet. And now we want to connect this side to the other side. That means we're going to count the number of stitches that we left in between. So here I have 5, 6 plus 5, that will be 11, 12 plus 5, that is 17. So in my case I have 17. If you had skipped 4, you're going to have 18 plus 5, you're going to have 23. So I'm going to chain 17, then skip over to the other side and do a single crochet onto the single crochet on the other side, like that. You can try this on and see whether it goes through your head. If it doesn't, then it means that you need to increase the number of rows right here to ensure that that part is able to go through your head and onto your neck. Then you're going to chain 5, skip over to the other side, chain 5, do the single crochet, chain 5, and do the last single crochet in the last stitch, chain 1 and turn to begin the next row. Begin with the single crochet, chain 5, single crochet, chain 5, single crochet next, chain 5, then a single crochet, chain 5. On the chain, we're going to skip 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work into the 6th. Chain 5. Then skip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work into the 6th. Chain 5. Then we're going to skip over now to the other side in the single crochet. And that's what you're going to have in the middle. Then chain 5. Skip over to the other side, not to the other side, but to the single crochet, chain 5, single crochet, chain 5, and single crochet at the end. Right now we are in row. Let me count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are in row 8. Is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. We're in the 8th row, and now we're just going to continue with the rows until we get the number of rows that we did before we started decreasing for the waist part. So now I'll count these rows. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 36, 37, 38. So it's in row 38. So that means I'm going to work a total of 38 rows with a chain 5 in between. So go on, work the number of rows that you did for your back panel till you go to the waist part, and I'll be back to show you what to do next. So I'll do my 38 and then I'll come back. I've increased these rows from 6 to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same thing on the other side because I was struggling to get the dress through my head. So you need to measure your head circumference and make sure that this part right here is able to fit through your head. Now, if you've left 4 gaps, 6 rows might be enough. But if you've left 4 gaps here, the 6 rows might be enough. But if you've only left 3, then for an adult, the 6 rows won't be enough. So you'll need to work more rows to ensure that the dress is able to fit through your head. So now I'm just going to connect, same way I've shown you how to connect previously. And then I'll continue working the rows until I get to row 38. So right now I'm at 38 rows with the front panel, and the remaining parts of the front panel is exactly the same way as the back panel. So from this point we're going to decrease in the next row, and then when I decrease I'll have 4 chains. Then I'll work a total of the 10 rows that I did in between. Let me move this stitch marker so that you can confirm that it's on this row. So I'll just place it here and count the number of rows from the stitch marker the one after the stitch marker. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I'm going to reduce in the next row so that I have 4 chains. Then I'll work 10 rows of the 10 chains. So I've chained 1, I'll turn. Then start with a single crochet. Then chain 4. So from this part until you get to the bottom, just work your panel the same way you did with the back one. After I'm done with the 10 rows of the 4 chains, I'll start increasing the same way I increased in the other panel, and then I'll increase till I get to the 8 chains. Then after that, I'll work rows with the 8 chains in between till I get to the end. So just work your panel exactly the same way you've done with the back, and I'll be back once I'm done with the front panel to show you how to attach the sleeves and connect the dress to complete it. Right here, I'm done doing the front panel, as you can see, and this is what we have. So that's the back, and this is the front. They are completely identical. The only difference is on the neck part. So now I'm going to join the sides on this side and on the other side. Then I'm going to leave a space for the sleeves on the top. So I'm going to join from the bottom, come into the top, and at the top I'm going to leave around 8 inches for the sleeve. An adult sleeve length is between 7 to 9, but then I'm going to work with 8. So I'm going to join to from the bottom till I get to a point right here. So let me just mark that part. You want to ensure that the number of rows correspond. So just count the number of rows on both sides and then make sure that it's the same number of rows. On either side, the same number of rows on either side. So now, this right here is where I'm going to mark. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll just count the number of rows. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So I'll count 25 rows on this side. As you can see, I'm not counting this part. The part with the single crochet, solid single crochet rows, I'm not counting, so I'll count from here. 1, 2. So let me just count the 25 rows on this side, then I'll mark, and I'll be back to show you how to do to join now. So my sleeve part is marked out and it's time to join. So after completing the middle, the front panel, I did not cut off the yarn. I'm just going to start connecting. And from here, I'm going to chain 1, put my hook into this first row, the last row that I've just done, and get the other side and put the hook through the last row that I did. Then complete a single crochet. Now I'm going to get the second row and the row on the other side and connect them with a single crochet. Let me work over this tail as I do the connection. So now I'm in the second row, and the second row on the other side, connect with a single crochet. Then I'll move to the third row and the third row on the other side. Then to the fourth. Work into the fifth row and just connect the corresponding rows with single crochets. So we're just going to connect like this till we get to where the stitch marker is. I'm a stitch before the stitch marker, and I'm just going to join right there. Then chain one and cut off the yarn at that point, and that side is joined. Pull through, fasten, pull out the stitch marker. So we have one side joined, and we have the sleeve part right there. So we're just going to turn to the other side, beginning from the bottom. In the very first row, or the last, you're going to put your hook through on one side and through on the other side. Then grab the yarn and reattach like that, leaving an end to weave in. Chain one, then you're just going to go back into that row and place a single crochet, go into the next row and on the row on the other side and do a single crochet, then connect till you get to the stitch before the stitch marker. I'll do this off camera, then I'll be back once I'm done. I have both sides of the dress joined, and I'm just going to turn this to the right side. I'll then weave in all the ends. So this is a dress turned to the right side.